join Zoom on time. We usually like to start quickly. I'll forgive people for this first one coming in a bit late, but if you can make sure that you're there for kind of, if we're starting the session at 5:30, try and get there for 5:25. A few of you were, which was great. We usually play some music and have some chat, but we like to start quite sharp at 5:30 because we will have a lot to get through over the 2 hours. Some quick introductions. I won't labor this point because you've met most of us before, but this is the EIG team. This was a photograph actually that we took when we were all together on the Saturday, and it's the first time that we've had the whole team together. There's a few interns there, but you can see that we've got myself and Sally and Graham, who you met on the call, and then we've got Lucy, who was previously in the Accelerator program, and Jer, who was also in the Accelerator program. Our two interns, FT and Cameron as well, and Dawn and Candace are also part of the teams, and Aisha, who is leading on the Accelerator program, but is currently over in Boston at MIT. So that's the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Group, and we're the ones that will be navigating you over the next 5 months. So we're going to be together for a while. We're going to do a program of First Mentors. Now, this is where you will be connected with one of the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Group as a mentor, as your first port of call. And the role of the First Mentors is really to be your concierge, to be your sounding board, to be your guide through the process, but also to connect you with other mentors, maybe subject matter experts, maybe in finance or marketing or technology, and they'll pull people in to support you on your journey. And they're really the people that will help you navigate the business model canvas, the value proposition canvas. They'll test you, they'll prod you, they'll poke you, they'll challenge you, and that's their role to support you through this process. And we've decided who that's going to be. And so I can tell you now who your first mentor is going to be. And if we have time at the end, what I'd suggest is that if your first mentor is on the call today, on the Zoom call, that you maybe just spend 5 or 10 minutes with them in a breakout room. Alternatively, is the first mentors will reach out to you probably within the next 5 days to set up some meetings with you, to introduce themselves and to help you, maybe give you some feedback from the judges in the initial stages of the competition, and they'll help guide you. So so without further ado, Sally, Charles, give us a wave, Sally. So Sally will be the first mentor for Mensura. So that is James Beckwith. Exhibition. So there's three of you, Adam, Liam, and Catherine. And Pace Press as well, which was Lewis. So your three teams, so that's Mensura, Exhibition, and Pace Press, will have Sally as their first mentor. Graham, who is also with us today. Graham, say hello. So Graham will be first mentoring Rebat. So that's Elan and Gokal, and CodeLink as well. So that's Marsan and Shibo. So that's CodeLink and Rebat will be first mentored by Graham. Aisha Kazim will be mentoring Cybergun. So that's Nagashri, Israel, and Abhishek. But she'll also be mentoring Highland Moss, which is Craig, and Exasync as well, which is Freedom. So those three startups will be mentored by Aisha. Candace will be mentoring. Is Candace on just now? No, don't think she is. Candace will be mentoring Joshua at Asset Works, but also HoloLabs and Overlook Digital as well, which is Grant. So Grant Learmouth, you'll be mentored by Candace. Dawn Shand, who you would have met at the boot camp, will be mentoring Asylum Refugee Care. So that's Jane and Jenny. And Birch Blossom project consultant. So that's Tara. And finally, myself, I will be mentoring member guests. So Stuart, Spare Bill will be me. So that's Danush and Thomas, and Arturo as well. So that's Amy and Kirsty will be mentored by me. So that's member guest, Spare Bill, and Arturo. So your first mentors will be reaching out to you, hopefully in the next few days to set up those initial meetings. Let me just admit these people. Cool. Okay. And maybe I'll just let people know about the mentoring towards the end as well. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to do a bit of an icebreaker game. And I want you to meet one another in an informal basis. And we're going to do this as kind of a speed networking session on Zoom. We're going to put you in breakout rooms, and you're going to be in groups of 3. And you're each going to get 2 minutes to introduce yourself and say a little bit about yourself. You're going to say whether you're a hustler, a hacker, or a hipster, and maybe share something that nobody else knows about you as well. I think that's always an interesting one, something that nobody knows about you. So I did this recently when I was at an event, and the guy I was sitting next to, we were saying something that nobody knows about you. And he said that he has a world record. He's in the Guinness Book of Records for skiing the most number of black ski runs or something like that, which, you know, just blew me away. Who would have thought that the guy I was sitting next to was in the Guinness Book of Records? Something nobody knows about me was that I once, back in the day, auditioned for the X Factor. So that's something no one knows about me, except for my work colleagues right now. So something that someone knows about you, I think, is always an interesting one to look at. But I want you to introduce yourself to the other 2 people in the room. I want you to think about whether you're a hustler, a hacker, or a hipster. Now, most startups have this kind of dream team. Someone's a hustler, someone's a hacker, and someone's a hipster. This is what you would call a minimal viable team. So what are they? And think about whether this is you. A hustler is someone that sells the product. They're your chief salesman. They make the deals. They get stuff done. They're the connector. Is that you? Or are you more of a hacker? Are you more of someone who, you know, builds the product, builds aspects of the product or the service, develops the new tech, builds those intellectual assets? Or are you a hipster? Are you the creative person? Are you the designer? Do you create attractive, user-friendly products and services? Are you focused on the customer service? Are you the Johnny Ive of Apple fame? So are you the hipster, hacker, or hustler? So when you're in this room, when you've got 2 minutes to speak, and take it in turns, have 2 minutes each, introduce yourself, say whether you're a hustler, a hacker, or a hipster, and why, and then say something that maybe no one else knows about you. While you're in there. So I'm going to stop sharing because we're going to go straight into this. After 6 minutes, I'm going to pull you out and you're going to go into another as well.
Yeah, I've got the power to reconnect the recording, and I've pressed the button.
Nice one. Excellent. Okay, I think we're all back in the room. I hope you enjoyed the exercise. Great to hear if you're hackers, hustlers, or hipsters. If you are a hustler, try and connect with a hipster and a hacker. If you are a hacker, try and get a hustler in the team if you can, particularly for a startup team. It's good to surround yourself with this people. If you're a team of 6 and you've got 6 hackers, you might want to think about getting some diversity in that team. That was good. I found out some really interesting stuff. I do love that question, something that nobody knows about you. So I think we should start an Accelerator band, because we have a trumpet player, don't we, James? James has been learning the trumpet, and he's going to give us a blast a bit later on.
Of sorts, yeah.
Yeah. We have a saxophone player, actually. Where are you? Yeah, give us a wave. Okhosa, the saxophone player. Nagashri can speak 6 languages. If anybody needs a linguist or an interpreter, then go and speak to Nagashri. If anybody needs saving, Kirsty works for RNLI in her spare time, which I think is amazing. It's a great job. So well done, Kirsty. Adam's a bit of a song and dance man, although he won't admit it, but we will get him singing and dancing at some stage during the Saturday session. Sally likes a bit of a song and dance, don't you, Sally? On the odd occasion.
You've clearly not met me.
Sally, we've got video evidence of your song and dance.
At least one song, from my memory.
At least
One song.
That's true. That's true. And we have a horror movie fan as well. Israel likes his horror movies.
Well,
So
he'll
I
like
think-
that recording that you've got of me then.
yeah, that's a good horror movie. But I think as we get to know one another over the coming weeks, we'll get to see each other's strengths and interests and desires and stuff like that. So that's great. And I think, really important that we become a supportive community of one another and help each other out along this journey. I'm just going to share my screen. I don't know if Graham or Sally want to share any of your insights from that What did you find out?
I met one individual who was a one-man team, really. He was a hacker, hipster, and a
really?
hustler. Yeah,
very good.
Yeah, I want him on my team.
Very good. Sally, anything to?
I met Liam quite a few times during that process. So it was quite nice to get to know him really well. And in one of the other groups, I met a couple of fellow sewers. So that was interesting too.
Oh, great. Yeah. Well, I met Sarah as well. That's good. That's very good. Okay. Right. I'm going to go back to showing my screen. Could somebody tell me that they can see that says program overview?
It does.
Excellent. Thanks, Sally. So I'm just going to take you a whistle-stop tour of the program overview, and we're going to revisit the value proposition statement, and then I'm going to introduce you to some business models. But I'm not going to go too much into this because you are going to get this information from Aisha anyway. But a quick program overview. You'll recall in the boot camp, and those of you that weren't in the boot camp will be seeing this for the first time, but what we're kind of arcing towards over the next 4 or 5 months is what we call the innovation sweet spot. And this is where you develop something, your product or service, and it might not be the product or service that you currently have developed as part of your application, but we'll go through these different phases to find that innovation sweet spot. And that is the intersection of something that people want, that's desirable. People want what you're offering. It's feasible. You can actually deliver it and build it, given the resources that you currently have or are going to have in the future. That it's viable, that it can sustain itself financially. And when we talk about viable, we often talk about it being commercially viable, because even if you are running a social economic a company and it's a non-for-profit, you still have to bring in money to pay people and to do the things that you want to do to create value in the company. And previously it was just those three things. It was desirability, feasibility, and viability. So people want it, you can develop it and create it and build it, and it can support itself financially. But I think when COVID came along, we thought there was another lens that you need to look at your business, and that's about adaptability. How agile is your idea, your business, your resources to adapt to change? We live in what's known as a VUCA world. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, it's ambiguous, and it's constantly changing. The political landscape is constantly changing. The technology landscape is constantly changing. The legal landscape is constantly changing. The environmental landscape is constantly changing. And so you need to have a business model that is agile enough to change rapidly at quick speed. If we go into COVID again, for example, if there's another stream of COVID and we go into lockdown, are you going to survive a lockdown? And what have you built into your framework, your business model, that will allow you to pivot really quickly to survive some of these uncertainties that we continuously face in our business? And so that's why we now build in a fourth lens about adaptability. And the way that we've curated this program is to look at those 4 lenses over the next 4 months. And we do that using a whole different range of media. And we have live Zoom sessions like this. On Saturday, we're going to have a face-to-face session. You're going to meet your mentors and they're going to challenge you and give you some ideas and some work to do. So there's lots of activities that you'll be required to participate in. They're the live sessions, they're the preparation materials that you'll get sometimes in advance, and there's the canvases and the activities and the tools that you'll need to do, because there's a lot of work that you'll need to do in between the sessions, in between your mentor sessions and in between the live sessions as well. So these are just touch points that the team have with you. There's a lot that you'll need to do in between those sessions to get the most out of it as well. We're in phase 1. So today we're looking at, we've done the welcome, we're looking at the value proposition statement, and I'm going to do a light introduction to the business model canvas. Then we have next Wednesday, in 2 days' time, we're on Zoom again. And then on Saturday, we're in the Tech Hub. And then after that, you should meet with your mentor to refine what you've learned, to get more insight into what you've done, and to refine the canvases as part of that meeting with your mentor. Phase 2, we're then going to look more at your customers. We'll look at some of the feasibility side of it. And again, we'll do the Monday, the Wednesday on Zoom, and then the Saturday face-to-face. Phase 3, we'll be looking at scenario planning. So this is the adaptability side of it. What's disrupting the business? How do you manage your risk and mitigate risk? How do you look at your environment? How do you plan for change and disruption? How do you grow the business? And then we'll also do something about branding and marketing. So that's phase 3. Phase 4 is the financial viability. So this is around the commercial viability. So we'll be looking at income, pricing, funding. You'll be looking at your costs, your cash flows. We'll do some mock investor pitching. And then on the Saturday, we'll play this cash flow game and talk a little bit about reporting for financials. And then as we go into April, towards the end of April, we'll really be preparing for the showcase. You'll be working very closely with your mentors to develop your pitches and to create an action plan. And we'll constantly be getting you to pitch, and we video it and we'll give feedback, and you'll be preparing for the showcase, which will be on Thursday, the 11th of May. And that final showcase is where you get the opportunity, or some of you get the opportunity to pitch for another 5, potentially £10,000. So we haven't decided what prize money we're going to give, but that's what it's going to be. So that's what we're leading towards as we go through this process. The benefits of the program, again, some of you would have seen this. You'll be getting one-to-one mentorship from the EI Entrepreneurship and Innovation Group team. And it's important to say that this is the 5th accelerator that we've done, and we've got a huge amount of experience now of working with startups, but we are also entrepreneurs ourselves. So I've had a couple of businesses, Sally's had a couple of businesses, Aisha Kandassi have had businesses, Graham's worked for very early stage companies, and so he really knows this space. Lucy and Jer have been through the process, and Lucy also has her own business as well. So we come from it from a very practical point of view. This is not an academic exercise. The academic exercise is in the business school, and this is a very practical exercise. And so what we bring is that experience and that know-how, and we've got the scars to prove it as well. And so that's what we bring, and that's why I think this Accelerator program has been as successful as it is, because it's not an academic exercise. So you'll have the mentoring, and you'll have access to all of that. You have access to the co-working space, and that's where we'll be on Saturday. And the idea is that we will get you some cards to access that, and we can give you some more information. But there's printing and stationery. It's got great Wi-Fi, and you'll be able to use that for 12 months, the co-working space up there. And then you have the access to funding. So we have up to £2,000 for each startup team, and you'll work with your first mentors to decide how you're going to use that. And then a request will come in, and that will be delivered. And you need to set up a business bank account for that to go to. It's the only way we can do it for governance reasons. And it's unlikely that you're going to get that in the first couple of weeks. We need to see that there's some commitment there from you. We need to see that you've spoken to customers, you're doing what we asked you to do. But I can see that by the end of February, once we've gone through this first phase, and you're still on the program, and you're happy with your development, we're happy with your development, but there'll be an opportunity to access some of this funding for you. During the program, you have a dedicated Microsoft Teams space. I think there's been a little bit of a challenge getting you linked to that, but I think most of you are on that. That's where we'll be posting the materials, the recordings. There's a discussion post on there. It's where you can meet with one another. If you're not already a student, you will become an associate student of the university. You'll get a student card, and you'll have access to all RGU systems like Microsoft Office 365. You'll have access to the library. So those of you that are, I think, mainly graduates, you will become associate students have all the benefit. And for the live sessions, online sessions, we will always be using Zoom. And as I say, you expect it to have your cameras on and to interact with the chat and any polls that we use, the breakout rooms as well. If you are having any trouble, technical trouble, then you can let us know and we can try and solve that. I would say that we would like you all to turn up to everything, but I know that that isn't always possible. You know, people have childcare responsibilities, people have work, people have study responsibilities, you have exams coming up if you're students and things like that. What we would ask is that, particularly if you're in a team of more than one, that at least one of you turn up. So at least one of the founding team turn up to a session as much as possible, and then share what you've learned from that session, or point people to the materials, or let other people know this is what we did in this session, this is what we're expected to do for the next session. So we would really like at least one member of the team to turn up. If you are a solo entrepreneur, you might want to think about developing your team. And this comes back to the hustler, hacker, hipster. You know, being a solo entrepreneur is tough, you know, and we often see this as a team sport. So you might want to think about, if I was going to build a team around this, who would that be? Who are the right people to join me on this journey? Because it can be difficult. Any quick questions around that? Is there anything on the chat that's come up, Sally Graham? Could you have a look? Is there any questions around that? You don't need a Zoom session to have a question. If you've got a question, you can put it on the Teams, the chat, or you could email myself or Aisha directly if you have a question about it. But is there anything
Not
right
seeing
now?
any questions.
Sorry?
Not seeing any questions.
Okay, we'll crack on. I think we'll crack on. If you have any questions, you can share them into the chat.
Hi, Chris.
Okay.
Hi, Chris. The question is that when you said that you have to set up a business account,
Yes.
business bank account,
Yes.
I'm thinking as students, are we allowed to do it? Because, you know, when I sort of researched, it said that as students, you're not allowed to start any business in the UK, as long as you're out of your student visa. So I just wanted to know a little bit more about that.
Okay. I can certainly, students that we've worked with previously have managed to set up a business bank account. Sometimes they might want a letter from the university. So if you find that your bank wants a letter from the university, we can do that. The other thing that we can do, you know, and we did this before, is we can reach out to the people who used who previously set up bank accounts and give you some recommendations as to the banks they were using. A few are using Starling Bank, I believe, which is just an online bank, so it wasn't a high street bank. There are some other banks that I think they've got some really good service from that you might be able to do. So maybe it's something we can do, an action on us is to go and see if we can get some recommendations from previous Accelerator cohorts as to the best banks that you could go to.
Okay, thank you.
Happy to do that. Okay. So phase one, we're going to do a bit of a dive now into phase one, which is desirability. And this is something that we're going to keep coming back to. This is the business model canvas. And this is something that you're going to see a lot over the next few weeks. And we're going to focus on the first bit, which is around desirability. And you'll see that on your screens, it's on the right-hand side. So it's customer relationships, channels, and customer segments. You'll remember we spoke about the value proposition during the boot camp, and that's something that we will be revisiting in terms of the value proposition canvas. That's something we'll be looking at a bit more closely on Saturday. But the business model canvas, which is this here, kind of overlooks the whole business, and it includes the value proposition. It includes the desirability part of it in terms of your customers. That's the front of house activity, but it also looks at the back of house activity in terms of the feasibility. So there's the partners, the activities, the resources, and then it looks at the viability. It looks at the costs and the revenue stream. So there's some financial, and we use this as a canvas. And we have these in A3, we have these in A4, and this is something that you're going to be working on because it gives you that holistic picture of your business. And when we talk about desirability, we're really talking about zooming into the customer-facing side of the canvas. So that's your value proposition, what value you're creating for your customer, and then the customer relationships, kind of relationships you're going to have, who your segments are, and how you're going to get your product to your end customer. So the channels that you are using. And so that's really the first part of the desirability. Before I go into that, I just wanted to get you to do a bit of work. I wanted you to think about what's known as the problem opportunity statement. So there are two statements that we talk about. One's a problem opportunity statement, and the other one is the value proposition statement. And we're going to revisit that in a second. But first of all, I want to introduce you to the problem opportunity statement. And this is often used when we're working on to create a new product or service. And what it does, it really explains the current kind of undesirable situation. What's the problem and what's its impact? And it helps us to define the problem that we're trying to solve and who's has that problem. So who's the product or service for? And the way we do that is through this. It's a 4-stage process. We think about who the user is, or the persona, who's our customer. We think about the need that they have, what they want, what they need, what they wish for, and what that allows them to do. What's their deep desire? And then what's the barrier to that? And so I wanted to take a photograph of this, or just write that down if you've got a notepad, and I suggest you bring notepads to the Accelerator program because you'll need to be making some notes. We'll give you some books. So next Saturday, we'll hand out some nice notebooks for you all. Let me give you an example of a problem opportunity statement. This is something that you can work on in your own time and with your mentor. You should really write this and take it to your mentor and test it. So here's one. As a frequent business traveler, which I am at the moment, I want a low-cost, on-demand transport so that I can avoid queues, delays, and getting frustrated. But I don't have any local currency, or I don't know where to go. Okay, so that would be a typical user problem opportunity statement. And I want you all to think about your problem opportunity statement for your business. So who, or for your startup or your product or service. And so, you know, as a refugee, or as someone who has problems with cybersecurity, as a technologist, as someone who is looking to develop to reduce their carbon footprint. You know, what do they want? What do they want to do? And what's stopping them from doing it? So think about that. Think about how that could impact with exhibition, with spare bill, with rebats. There was a member guest. You know, as a you know, a golfer, or what's the word? An amateur golfer. You know, what do they want? What do they want that and to enable them to do? And what's the current barrier to that? So I think, yeah, just have a go at that. Just for 2 minutes, try and create your problem opportunity statement. I'm going to put a timer on it. In your own time, by yourself, on your own, grab a bit of paper and just have a go at writing your problem opportunity statement. Doesn't have to be perfect, remember. We're not creating something that's perfect just yet. It'll probably never be perfect. We want it to have a go. We want to get your problem opportunity statement out there. Verbalize it. Okay, that's a minute gone. Another 60 seconds. Okay. Last 30 seconds. And then we're going to hear some. So something that we're all going to have to get used to is being selected to talk. It's part of being an entrepreneur. It's part of pitching. It's part of this whole process and supporting one another as well. And something that we often do is give permission to other people to be able to comment and support one another in that environment. Stop, that's 2 minutes. Hopefully you've finished. Okay, I'm going to come to Graham. Graham, give me a number between 1 and 30.
I'll give you my age, 21.
Okay, so that is Tara. Tara, would you like to unmute yourself and give us your problem opportunity statement, please?
Excuse me. Yes, sorry, I have a cold, so I'll try and speak as eloquently as I can. So, and I've got a throat sweet in my mouth, so thank you, Graham. Yeah, as a community climate change group member, I want to turn an old area of land into a forest to improve biodiversity and improve our impact on climate change, but I don't know the legalities and governance and planning behind this.
Round of applause for Tara, please. Excellent. Excellent. You got the you got the you know, the method, you know, that was exactly it. That was a great first go, you know, so with a bit of refinement and stuff like that, but I got it, you know, that was the problem opportunity statement. So you got the quest. So thank you for that. That's great. Sally, can you give me a number from 1 to 30, please?
17.
17. That is Kirsty Main. Kirsty, could you unmute yourself and give us your problem opportunity statement, please?
Yeah. As a busy dad in full-time work, I wish I had the access to support groups so that I can find the right help to get me back on my feet. But yet there is online barriers and there isn't anything available in my area.
Excellent. Well done. Thank you. Round of applause. Good go. Brilliant. Go back to Graham then. Graham, can you give me another number, please?
10.
10. Was that a 10?
That was a 10.
Is that your IQ? You gave us your age, now you give us your IQ.
Yeah.
Adam, that's Adam. Adam Hanzel. Hanzali. Yes.
Yeah.
Adam, could you give us your problem opportunity statement, please?
Yeah, so as an art, fashion, or design student, I want to sell my works and make a name for myself so that I can pursue my hopes and dreams in the creative industry. But it's hard to make myself stand out in the vast online commercial space.
Very good. Yep, excellent. Another great one. Very good. Thank you, Adam. Brilliant. And one more, Sally, could you give me another number, please?
27.
27. This is like playing bingo, isn't it? Number 27. That is, you think I'm making this up, but I'm not. I do have numbers against it. That's Lewis Church. Page Press. Lewis, could you unmute yourself and give us your problem opportunity statement, please?
Yeah, of course. Okay. As a student entering higher education, I need a cost-efficient, unique way to present my artwork so that I can grow my portfolio for my art school application. But I don't know what is available to me and if they have time for my schedule.
Very good. Round of applause. Round of applause for everyone, actually. That worked really well. That's really, really good. For a first, for a first time, it's probably the first time any of you have seen the problem opportunity statement. But, work on them. And then what we will do is we will share them with your first mentor so that they can support you with that. But it's a great start. So well done to everybody who had a go at that. We're now going to go back to the value proposition statement. So this is a slightly different statement. And again, those of you at the bootcamp would have come across this. But again, it's quite a powerful tool that you should use. And we're going to be coming back to this quite a lot. And some of you would have had this already. So you'll remember it was a 4-line statement that is a concise and very simple statement of the value that you're creating, who it's for, what the challenge they have, what's the problem, what the need they have, what it is that you offer and how it solves that problem. And I think we gave you an example. So it's for audience who have this need, we offer that. And the examples that we gave you were for aspiring entrepreneurs in the northeast of Scotland who need training, funding and support to launch their businesses. We offer a comprehensive accelerator program that gives them the knowledge and resources they need to succeed. Okay, so that would be something that we would do. And there's another one here. For cinema goers in the northeast of Scotland who want an affordable opportunity to socialize and be entertained, we offer a subscription with unlimited cinema trips and discounts that reduces the cost for each trip and makes visiting easy. And I think there's, isn't it? No. Oh, I thought a card came up. Did a card come up? There it is. The unlimited card. Okay. So what I want you to do now, how are we doing for time actually? How are we doing for time? Let me just check. Not too bad. We probably won't take 15 minutes. What I want to do is I want you to go back into groups. And I think I've got this for 15 minutes. I don't think we'll do it for 15. I mean, yeah, maybe 10 minutes, I think. But what I want to do is to work in groups, and I want you to talk through your value proposition. Hopefully you've still got them. If you haven't, you might want to try and remember what your value proposition statement was from the previous boot camp. And I want you to test it with other people. So I'm going to put you into rooms, breakout rooms, and I want you to test and refine your value proposition statement. See if it works, see if it lands. And when you're talking about it, if you're listening to it, maybe give some feedback as to whether it's good or maybe some words doesn't quite fit. So maybe, give some constructive feedback as if you were either a judge or a customer or a supplier when you hear the value proposition statement. And me, Sally and Graham will sort of come in and out of rooms just to hear some of them and give you some feedback. But we'll put you maybe in rooms of how many people are on. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Actually, I'm going to, for those of you that haven't seen it, you might want to take a photograph of that. Okay. Can you see introducing business models? Yes. Beautiful when it comes together. Okay. So I've already introduced you to the business model canvas, and I'm going to kind of revisit it because this is the business model canvas. But what is a business model? We talk a lot about the business model canvas, but what is a business model? The business model that you have describes how your organization, your business, your startup creates, delivers, and captures value. Now, that value could be economic value. It could be social value. It could be cultural value. It could be in a cultural context, but it's valuable to someone. You're creating value, not just products and services, but you're creating value for someone. And what the business model, it's a framework that has broken down into different components. And when they all work together, it's the essence of what makes your business, basically. Not just what makes your business, but why your business exists in the first place, what it is that you're doing. And the canvas is a great way of putting that in a visual form, because you can see it and you can show it to other people. And when one part of the canvas changes, others will often change. So, your cost structure might change depending on the customer relationship that you want. Your key activities might change given the different channels that you have. So it's kind of all interlinked. And what you're going to find over the next 4 months is that we're going to go into all of these sections and give you a deep dive into each of these sections, so that by the end of the program, you'll have a business model canvas that represents your business going forward for the next 2 or 3 years. You'll have the value proposition canvas that really takes a deep dive into your customer and your product and how they connect together to get this customer product fit as well. And there's a number of other canvases that we'll be going through. And the thing with the business model canvas is it's a live document. It never stands still. It's constantly evolving. And that's really important. And big companies use it. This is a video that I found. Hopefully you can hear this, but this is a video that describes the business model and the business model canvas.
Organization's business model can be described with 9 basic building blocks: your customer segments, your value proposition for each segment, the channels to reach customers, customer relationships you establish, the revenue streams you generate, the key resources and key activities you require to create value, the key partners, and the cost structure of the business model. But it's not sufficient to just enumerate the 9 building blocks. What you really want to do is to map them out on a pre-structured canvas. This is what we call the business model canvas, a tool that helps you map, discuss, design, and invent new business models. Let's briefly go through the 9 building blocks, starting with the customer segments. These are all the people or organizations for which you're creating value. This includes simple users and paying customers. For each segment, you have a specific value proposition. These are the bundles of products and services that create value for your customers. The channels describe through which touch points you're interacting with customers and delivering value. Customer relationships outline the type of relationship you're establishing with your customers. The revenue streams make clear how and through which pricing mechanisms your business model is capturing value. Then you need to describe the infrastructure to create, deliver, and capture value. The key resources show which assets are indispensable in your business model. The key activities show which things you really need to be able to perform well. The key partners show who can help you leverage your business model, since you won't own all key resources yourself, nor you perform all key activities. Then once you understand your business model's infrastructure, you'll also have an idea of its cost structure. So with the business model canvas, you can map out your entire business model in one image. This works for startup entrepreneurs just as well as for the most senior executives.
I like that video. We don't play a lot of videos, but every so often you come across one that kind of articulates it in a way that's probably better than us. Here is an example of a business model canvas that's been done. And, you know, I think there's some color coding on here as well. And you can guess what this is from their value proposition: sharing pictures with friends, be entertained by friends and celebrities, target access users, and the customer segments are smartphone users that take pictures, and advertisers. So that's, I think if I press the next button, that's Instagram's business model canvas. And look how simple it is. I mean, these are, you know, we're going to put these up on the wall for you. And I suggest that if, you know, you have somewhere at home, we can give you big ones and you can put them up on your wall. So we had a couple of startup businesses previously that actually, you know, stuck them up on their wall, and they constantly were moving, you know, Post-it notes around it and changing it and stuff like that. But that's something that we'll be doing quite a lot of, and you'll be testing them with your peers and with your customers, and hopefully by the end of the program you'll have a fairly robust business model canvas that tells you who your customers are, the sort of relationships you have with them, how you're getting your product to them, what key activities you'll be doing, what key costs and key revenue streams that you have, and how they all interplay with one another. So let's just do a little bit of a dive into some of them. Customer segments was one. And this looks at who your customers are. What groups of customers are you delivering value to? And they can be very different. You know, are you a mass market? So have a think about the answer to some of these questions now, because we will be populating your business model canvas over the weekend. So are you a mass market? You know, mass market. iPhone is a mass market. Are you a niche market player? You know, are you going for a very niche market? And that's, you know, a very acceptable market condition to go for. It's unlikely that many of you are going to go to mass market. Most of you will probably play in the niche market, you know. And so think about, you know, there are lots of different niche market products. You have to define exactly who your segment are. And then there's the segmented market. Now, segmented markets are those who are segmented by things like geography, maybe demographics. So you need to think about, you know, segment the market down, and we're going to talk about that when we come to beachhead markets. Is how do you go about segmenting the market? And that's about how do you divide them into categories of different people that you might want to go for, and which segment is the most likely to crack, first of all, and that would be your beachhead market. And we talk a little bit about beachhead market strategy at the next session.
So another type of segmentation would be economic. So if you think about the car market, car manufacturers offer different types of cars for different economic segments of the market, so that they can try and meet as many needs as possible spread across the whole car market. Yeah, VW is a classic one. VW do the VW Fox or VW Polo. It's very different type of market to the Audi. So most VW own Audi. Audi go for that high-end market. So that's a great example. But there's lots of examples of market segmentation you can do. You can go for low end or high end. I mean, even supermarkets now have segmented their market by having a saver range or a premium range. You just have to go into Tesco's. You can see on the shelf they have different products for different demographics that they're going for. That's how they compete with little Audi, by having this kind of saver range, if you like. But they also try and compete with Waitrose by having this premium exclusive range as well. A diversified market is, the classic diversified market is somebody like Virgin. Virgin started off as a record company, then now into flights. They do Virgin Cola. They have a Virgin Bank. So they have a very diversified portfolio, a market portfolio. And then multi-sided market is probably a new one that's really come on board since the internet. And this is where you're serving two or more interdependent customers. So Uber would be a classic one, because you've got the drivers and you've got the people that want to get from A to B. You've got Airbnb, people who are looking for rooms with people who have spare rooms that they want to give away. And eBay, classic, people that want to sell stuff with people that want to buy stuff. So that's a multi-sided market. And I think a couple of you actually in today's cohort will probably have that kind of multi-sided market, which is trying to serve more than one by connecting them and creating different communities. So have a little think about what your market segments might be, how you're going to approach different markets. And then think about what kind of customer relationships you want to develop. There's usually a spectrum of customer relationships, from low touch to high touch customer relationships. So we can all think of a very low touch one. That's kind of, your supermarkets, your kiosks. You can go into McDonald's now and you hardly have to speak to anybody, because they've got these kiosks. It's all automated, it's all self-service. You go into Asda now and you can go in and buy something without even speaking to anybody, really, by doing these self-service. So that's very low touch kiosk, very transactional, And then at the other end of that is dedicated personal assistance. It's very high touch, personalized shopping type experience. And if you think of what Apple have done recently when they launched their Genius bars, that is a very much a concierge type service where you have to book an appointment and then you get this, very attentive a person that's looking after, all your technology needs. And that was a very deliberate strategy by Apple to have that kind of dedicated customer service. And then the other one, again, that you might want to consider as part of your business model, and again, I think some of you are looking at this, is that communities, and that's where it's the community that facilitates those connections, that builds the value through the community, that maybe builds lists of prospects, and you can learn from the experiences of one another. And TripAdvisor does that very well, doesn't it? Where there's communities that are supporting one another and giving recommendations as to where to go, and taking pictures to facilitate that as well. And so again, that kind of online facilitation has meant that communities have become quite powerful in terms of how you build those customer relationships and how you have relationships with your customers. So again, think about how you're going to, what kind of strategy you're going to be developed to not just acquire customers, but to keep them on board. Because again, that will have an impact on probably your cost structure, the activities that you do. If you want a very dedicated, personalized service, that often comes with a cost attached to it, and it also takes a lot of time. But if that's your model, then, you need to, that's fine, but people will need to pay for that model. And it's usually kind of high-end, high-touch, qualitative service that people require.
but maybe you're going for, you know, volume, low cost, and maybe it's a numbers game. Maybe there was that self-service ability that you want to curate into your delivery of your product or your service. So think about the customer relationships that you have. We're then going to move on to the channels. And channels is really how you get your product to the customer, how you get it from A to B. What's the product's journey to the final customer? And how do you do that? And how do you communicate and reach your customers? And there's lots of different strategies for that. You might use a sales force. Again, you know, very expensive, but you might want that one-to-one personal sales staff going out on the road and meeting with people. It might be your channel, might be your website. You might have an e-commerce shop, an online presence where you sell your products and services, or maybe you might use Etsy or something that's already out there to sell your products and services. You might want to open shops. You know, there are people that will open shops or restaurants, you know, retail units can be hugely expensive, you know, rent rates, insurance. But again, you know, if that's a way that you want to distribute your products and meet with your customers. And then, of course, there's the one where you can develop distribution networks. And that can work very well in some, you know, particularly for software. You remember the accounting package Sage? They had an accounting package, and they used to sell that through accountants as a way of distributing it. Accountants used to get a finder's fee almost for getting their clients to use Sage software for their accounting packages. And you know, I think with distributors, there are kind of multiple intermediaries and networks that are established, and there's lots of benefits for using distributors. But there are also benefits in having a direct relationship with your customer. With a distributor, you have someone in between you and the customer. And I think if you're trying to develop a strategy where you build trust with the customer, where you can have some control over that customer relationship, then you probably want to think more about a kind of direct relationship with the customer rather than an indirect relationship with the customer. And of course, using distributors or retail, you know, it can cut into your margin as well. If you have a price, they're going to take something off of that price. And so it might not, whereas if you're going direct to the customer through online, it's likely that you'll get all the revenue from that and profit from the sale as well. So that's a little look into channels. So again, start thinking about how you're going to get your product and service to your customer and the relationship that you have for that. And that is the whole kind of desirability part. So what we went through there was the customer segments, the customer relationships, and the channels. And that's sort of the starting to map of that desirability part, the customer facing part, I call it the front of house part, because everything else is kind of behind the scenes. It's your activities, your resources that you have. Graham and Sally, anything to input there? Anything to contribute there?
I was just thinking as well in terms of channels, not just the distribution and selling side, but also other communications that you might have with your customers in order to create those customer relationships that are really important, because not everybody has a direct access through a shop or those sorts of things. So you might be wanting to sort of add in your social media channels as well into this, and maybe thinking about who it is and which ones are appropriate, because there are so many of them. So thinking about that aspect as well.
Yeah.
A comment that I would add there, really, you know, as Chris went through that, these things are not mutually exclusive, you know, so you'll have multiple different customer segments, and you might have different channels to reach those. And you might have a distributor relationship for one segment and a completely different relationship to another segment, you know. And in the digital world, of course, there's this whole concept of freemium and free access, sort of an entry-level access to your product and service, minimum viable, if you like, product piece. And then what you want to do is be converting people, acquiring customers who are going to be fee paying. You know, and that suits the digital world because of the volumes that you can reach. That's a very common kind of model, if you like. So all of these things are not, as I say, mutually exclusive. They can be in some situations, but so think about it translate to your own situation. But in the sessions later on, where we start talking about beachhead markets, who are the first people you're going to go towards, having that channel, if you like, developed, it will be a necessity, and it's going to be the lowest hanging fruit, I guess, for most of you. So you're going to have to start thinking in multiple dimensions when you're mapping out how your business is going to grow and scale.
Thanks, Graham. And what we're doing here is we're taking a zoomed out perspective just now. So each of these, we are going to do more of a deep dive, and we are going to give you some very practical tools that you can use to understand each of these and to make some decisions and appraise some of these as well, and working very closely with your mentors. So what we're kind of doing is we're doing a zoomed out view, if you like, of the whole business. But we are going to be zooming in to each of these and giving you, as I say, the tools and techniques to make some of these decisions, to answer some of these questions. Because at the moment, it's all kind of guesswork. But we are going to challenge you, and we're going to give you some activities to do, actually, to populate these with some confidence more than anything, and minimizing the risk of getting it wrong. That's what we're doing here. We're giving you some tools and some techniques to minimize the risk of you creating something that nobody wants, or creating a business that isn't going to be sustainable in the long term. That's what this is about. That's what these segments are all about. And so quickly, I just want to take you through a couple of the other ones, but we will be getting to these in later sessions. Okay, so don't worry about too much about these just now, but we will be thinking about what key activities you'll be doing and your team will be doing. Are you actually making products? Are you creating, designing, and producing bits of widgets and selling them? Are you doing sales marketing? Are you on social media? Are you solving your customers' problems? Are customers coming to you with the problems and you're solving them as maybe a consultancy, or are you like a repair shop and giving something back? Or are you building a platform and maintaining that platform, where maybe you're connecting people with one another, creating that community? So, what are the day-to-day things that you and your team will be doing as part of this business? And what resources do you need to do that? And resources cover a whole range of things. It's just not just financial resource, but human resource. How are you going to build this business, and what kind of people and what skills are you going to need to build this over the next 6, 12, 24, 36 months? And that some of that will be financial. So what do you need to get you to the next 6 months? To get you to a position where you might get some more funding, because the first funding is usually family, friends, and fools. And you'll get some grant money from us, and you might get some grant money from some other things. That will only take you up to a certain point. If you want to grow and build this to the next stage, you might need to go and get some other funding. You might be looking at getting, I don't know, 200, 300,000 pounds to take it to the next stage, if that's your business model. So what do you need to get to that next stage gate, if you like? So that's the thing that we can work with you on. What other resources, what intellectual resources do you need? What intellectual property? And again, Graham is the expert here on that. Are there trademarks that you need? How do you protect what it is that you've got? Is there opportunity for a patent filing, or can you copyright, things? So again, think about those intellectual assets and resources that you're going to need to make this happen, and to protect yourself as well. And then, physical resources. What infrastructure do you need? What software do you need? What premises and equipment might you need to make all of this happen? So key resources is a good one. And then partners. Are there partners that you need to make this happen? Are there suppliers? Are there operational support mechanisms that you need? Are there services? You don't need to do everything yourself. You can outsource stuff. You can outsource the financials. You can outsource the marketing. If it's not your core deliverable, if it's not creating core value for your customer, then is it something that you need to be doing, or is it something that you can outsource? So think about what partners you want. Maybe your partners are your customers, building that relationship. So you need to think about the key partners that you have. And those are the main bits of the business model. So that's the feasibility, the key partners, the key activities, and the key resources. And then finally, the costs and the revenues. So what's your cost structure? We're going to take a deep dive when we do the viability. Sally's going to take you a deep dive into the financials. You know, what are the fixed costs? So these are costs that remain constant whether you sell one product or 100,000 products. You will have to pay your rent, you have to pay your rates, you have to pay your insurance. You know, these are things that are fixed. Doesn't matter how many products or services you sell. And then what are your variable costs? These are the ones that fluctuate with the amount of stuff that you sell. So an example of a variable cost, if you're a sandwich maker, would be your bread. You know, an example of a variable cost, if you're a taxi driver, would be your petrol. The more miles you do, the more petrol you're going to use. The more sandwiches you make, the more bread you're going to be using. So they have a dependent relationship on the amount of sales that you make. And then we're going to talk to you about taxes. So we'll give you an introduction to VAT, corporation tax, and national insurance as well. And then we'll give you some accounting jargon as well. So this takes me back to my accounting I did at university, but we'll give you some accounting, so things like depreciation and interest. We'll let you know a little bit about that, because we do want to give you some practical side to how to set up a business, how to become a limited company, you know, and what kind of things that you need to do to keep you on the right side of the law as well. So those are the kind of things that we can support you with. And then we'll look at revenue streams. You know, what are the different streams of revenue that you can have coming into your business? The sales, the usage fees, is it subscription model, the different models of revenue. We'll talk about pricing and the different types of pricing that you can have when you have your business. We'll talk about how you can cost your service so that you can make sure that you price it to get a profit. We'll talk about cash flow as well, which is the lifeblood of any successful business, is cash flow. You can go bust making a profit because you need cash in the business. So we'll talk to you about the difference between profit and cash flow as part of the accounting part. And, you know, we can talk to you a little bit about commission and advertising as well. So there's some expertise in the team that can cover both the revenue streams and the costs of your business. And a lot of that will be determined by your overall strategy that you're working on. Any comments on that, Sally?
Could we just go back to the business model canvas just for a second? I just want to sort of bring home a point about those things that you were talking about there, particularly the financial things and how they fit. So the business model canvas has been structured in a very deliberate way, so that on the right-hand side, those things in the greenish color, they're what Chris calls front of house. On the left-hand side, you've got the back house in the back, how you actually do the things and make it all. And the revenue streams are positioned underneath the customers, the front of house, because that's where that money comes from. And the key costs are positioned underneath the doing part, because that's where all of your costs come from. And what you want to end up with at the end of the day is your revenue in streams, the amount that you're getting coming in exceeding your costs. And then you'll be in a viable position. You'll be making a profit. Might not be a lot of profit, but at least you won't be making a loss. So that's what you're aiming for, to tie all of this into a holistic whole as a business.
Thanks, Sally. Yeah, that makes great sense. Thank you. And then, sorry, just one last thing. So it's not on the business model canvas, but it is something that as a business owner in the 21st century, 22nd century now, 21st century is that we all need to be cognizant of, and that is the impact that our business has on all our communities, on the environment, and on, you know, the cultural fabric and the social fabric of society. And so this is something that we will be spending some time on. It kind of comes under feasibility, but it also comes under adaptability. So what is the environmental impact that we're having when we are delivering value to our customers? What kind of things can we do to support society and to have a positive impact on the world as well? How can we support individuals to have a positive impact on the world? Can we work with charities? How can we develop social change? And I know that there are a couple of businesses, so obviously Asylum Refugee Care, Birch Blossom, there are a couple of businesses which kind of lean into that space, which is an important space. but it shouldn't be missed out by any businesses nowadays, because customers are becoming more and more active, and activism is becoming more and more prevalent. And you know, the reputational risk that you have of doing the wrong thing can be huge, because it usually goes viral, you know, and lots of people will hear about it. And so we certainly need to be cognizant of that. And so there's something about measuring the impact that you have as a business, and that can be both negative impact and positive impact. And we're going to be covering some of that. It doesn't, you know, it's not in the business model canvas, but we see it as being a really important part of any sustainable business. You need to have sustainable business practices, and you need to do the right things. And you know, so that kind of ethics side of your business is going to be very important as we go through this process. I think you've seen this one. That's the Instagram one. I just wanted to show you another one. So this is just another business model canvas that we had. Again, like I say, large companies, large corporations, you know, small companies all kind of use this. And this one is Tesco's. You can probably see that from the ability to collect club card points in their value proposition. But I think the reason that we show this is that it's just kind of simple. It's broken down to its sort of lowest common denominators. So even these huge, you know, multi-million pound companies can use the business model canvas to, you know, to talk about their business and how they create value and how all these different sections work together. And it's something that we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. This is what you're going to be getting. So you're going to be getting A3 ones of these and A4 ones. I think we've even got A0 ones, haven't we? The huge ones. But on Saturday, you're each going to be getting one of these, and we're going to start populating it. We're going to start populating it with sticky notes and things like that. So that should be good. And then we're going to be describing it to one another, and we're going to be sharing it with one another and debating it and discussing it with one another. So that's, you know, should be a good exercise. But it's, when you start out, you're never going to get it right first time. And I don't want people to feel pressured that, oh, you know, I'm going to put something in here and it's going to be perfect, because it's not. We don't live in that kind of world. You know, your value proposition statement, your value proposition canvas that you did at the boot camp, your business model canvas will not be right first time, because at the moment, a lot of it's guesswork. And that's fine. That's not a problem at all, because where you're starting now is probably not going to be where you finish. And you've heard us talk about that in the boot camp. So let me give you two examples of companies that when they started, they had a completely different idea from when they finished and what made them successful. And some of you might already be aware of this. And I love this. I love these kind of stories because it really brings it to life. So YouTube, anybody know what YouTube started as? 2005? No? No guesses? So YouTube started as a dating website. So in 2005, founder Steve Chen said they designed it as a way for people to upload vlogs, so videos of themselves talking about what they wanted in a partner. And it had a strap line. So YouTube had the strap line, tune in and hook up. That was their strap line in 2005. And after 5 days of launching it, they launched it on Valentine's Day, 2005, as a dating website, basically. And as at 5 days, not one person had uploaded a vlog to try and get a partner, not one person. And they even put it on Craigslist at $20. They were going to pay people to put their videos, and still not one person put a video up at all. And so they decided to pivot. They pivoted and they changed it, and they said anyone can put a video on. You know, it doesn't have to be a dating video. Anyone can upload a video. And one of the founders uploaded a video of a day at the zoo. That was the first ever YouTube video. And that was in 2005. In 2006, they had 25 million views and 20,000 uploads a day. 20,000 video uploads a day a year later. And so that's a great story of they didn't finish where they started, but they were a huge success in this, multi-billion-dollar company now. But they grew, but they pivoted. There wasn't a market, so they pivoted. Pixar is the other one. So anyone know the story of Pixar? It's a great story. So Pixar started out as the Pixar Image Computing Company. And they were basically designing computer software for animation. And they had this software called Renderman. Renderman software was basically a piece of software, a computer software that they had developed as part of Lucasfilm. They were Lucasfilm's computer graphics department. And they were trying to sell this to production companies to say, use our software to develop animations. And they created as a way of promoting it or selling it, they created a little video. And the video was called Luxo Junior. And Luxo Junior is the name of the lamp. And if you Google Luxo Junior animation, you'll get Pixar Animation's first ever video. And it was a demo that they were, showcasing around all these production studios. And it's the desk lamp that they use at the beginning of their all their films, all their animations. The desk lamp comes on, doesn't it? It jumps on the eye and then kind of turns and faces it. So that's Luxo Junior was the desk lamp. And that was created in 1986. They created this short film of this lamp, and that won an Oscar. And they decided, you know what, we don't need to sell our software. We'll be an animation company, and we'll use our software to create animations. And the rest is history. So you know how Pixar, Steve Jobs invested in it, and eventually they got sold to Disney recently for billions of dollars. So again, it's a classic example of a company that started in a completely different kind of sphere, a technology company developing computer software that is now one of the largest animation companies in the world. And the reason that I tell these stories very early on is it's unlikely that you'll end up with the same idea that you started this with. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. It might, but you might find that you will pivot, and you might pivot a number of times. And that's okay, because the process you're going to go through is going to be customer facing. And we're going to find out what the customers want, desire, and we're going to develop products and services that people want. And that might not be what you currently have or what you apply to the accelerator with. It might be, and it might be very close to it, but don't worry about that. This is the process that you're going to go through. What we're hoping that you will end up with is something that is desirable, feasible, viable, and adaptable, and will sustain in the long term. And that's what we're trying to do over the next 4 months. Okay, so don't worry if we need to pivot. It's part of the process. YouTube did it, Pixar did it, and they're multi-billion-dollar company. That's it from me, I think. I want to tell you those stories. I think that's it. Yep. So just quick recap. You met some of the EIG team. You had an opportunity to network with the participants of the accelerator, and it's great to see you. I really appreciate it. It's an evening. You've got busy lives. You've got families. You've got dinner and stuff like that to get, but I really appreciate you all making the time. I think beginning to know what's involved and what you need to do. You know who your first mentor is, and they will reach out to you to set up some meetings. You have your first draft of your value proposition statement, and you have a fairly good awareness of the business model canvas that we're going to be using over the next few weeks. And I think that is it. Yep, I'm a bit over time. So unless anybody's got any questions, I'm going to stay on for the next sort of 5 minutes. You can stay on if you want. If not, we will see you all on Wednesday. Same time, same place. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Abhishek. Let's go, Carl. Cheers, Adam.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thanks,
Chris.
Chris. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers, Grant.
Chris, I've just got one question. Are these going to get put up on Teams, these slides?
Yes. Yes.
All right. I do. Perfect.
Yeah. I'll be doing that.
Okay. My wife's going to get her eyebrows done, so I better go.
Okay.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.